Hey, good morning, everybody. John here at Havoc Maker Studio. Hoping you guys had a great weekend. And today we're just going to get into a couple things I intended to get into over the weekend, but circumstances, of course, prevented me. Obviously, since the videos didn't drop. So let's just dive right in. So last week, I think it was like Thursday or Friday, the Atomic Mass Games put out a message on their Facebook page, and they're very good about communicating largely anything that's going on within the company, any delays. I would say at about the 95 to 90, maybe 97% range. And mind you, I'm just making up these numbers, but it is very large. It's not 100%, obviously, but it is far larger in like a percentile than other companies, say like Games Workshop, Privateer Press, and whatnot. So they're very good at making sure that we know what's going on in the company or with issues with product and such. Now, the one that I wanted to talk about is not necessarily a big issue, but the issue is the big issue that people made out of it. Does that make sense? I hope so. So here's what they said. It's come to our attention that there's a discrepancy with the Star Wars Legion Swoop Bike Riders, SLW 97. That was announced about a month ago, I would say, and was also they showed some videos painting and some build designs of it during the most recent mini extravaganza, which was the rescheduling of the mini extravaganza from earlier, I believe it was May or June. And it said, unfortunately, we've learned there was a miscommunication between our miniatures painting department and development department concerning the base size of the miniatures. This resulted in the swoop bikes for both the official photography and the stream being the mini extravaganza, being put on incorrect base sizes. The bases that are included in the product are the correct bases for the unit. We apologize for the confusion this has caused and have taken steps to internally to ensure this type of issue does not occur again. Now, I'm not going to pull up specific people's names or their comments or anything from the different forums or even the Facebook groups, but apparently people are really upset, and it's only a minority of a minority of the hobbyists, the gamers that are upset, but they just want to make an ant hill out of a molehill. No, make a molehill out of an ant hill. Make a mountain out of a molehill. What is the phrase? I can't remember. Put it down in the comments. I can't think of it, but making a big deal out of something that's nothing. They tried making it sound like that that Atomic Mass Games dropped the ball, and nobody knows what's coming in the product. The cards are wrong, the base sizes are wrong, and it's been generally just a big upheaval for this product that's coming out. When in reality, the only disconnect was on the paint stream. They had it on the smaller base, which I think is a 35 millimeter base, which is the Trooper base, right? But in the box, in reality, what's already in the box, that there's no discrepancies, there's no recalls, there's nothing wrong with the product that's coming to you that you're going to pre-order because you're going to get it, is that those bikes, the swoop bikes, are going to have the speeder bike bases just like it shows on the box. It was just a slight miscommunication. Somebody put it on a smaller base instead of the larger base for the stream. But apparently people are confused and worried even after they came out and said, hey, this is what's coming. And you could actually go to Asmodee or any other sort of website that Miniature Market that's got the product already up, the images for pre-order, and it shows clearly that it's on the correct base size, but people get in a panic. And of course, the people got to get in there and do their mansplaining, or I should say, probably not mansplaining, more gamer explaining. I'm not sure if that's a term. I'm going to research that, and we're going to come up with a term for gamer splaining or explaining. Even to the point where people were complaining that Atomic Mass Games has destroyed the X-Wing community, which is weird. Fantasy Flight Games already made a big mess of the X-Wing community when they came out with the second edition. They were forcing you to buy multiple $50 packs for getting your cards and then reprinting the models with the new cards. They already created that mess. And they also created the mess for Star Wars Armada, which was already a mess when they introduced the squadrons, the attack squadrons, or the small ship squadrons, which was a big part of the problem. And the game itself, Armada, don't yell at me, it's not a great game, and it's not a big seller. You can go to virtually any game store, with maybe an exception here and there, and you're going to see tons of, maybe even not tons, you're just going to see the product still sitting there, probably a fine layer of dust, and not a lot of people are playing Star Wars Armada. It's not a big seller, but people are even up in arms in the forums using this as a springboard to attack Atomic Mass Games. Atomic Mass Games inherited the Star Wars franchise from Fantasy Flight Games. All problems that are currently being faced, minus this little minor base issue, which is a non-issue, stems from Fantasy Flight Games' notorious mishandling of all their IPs, really. Everything that they put their hands into, especially anything in regards to Star Wars, is just crumbles. That's based on personal opinion, and as a former manager at two different game stores and watching this great franchise just kind of crumble because of poor writing, poor mishandling, poor shipping issues, just all sorts of and mechanic issues, just all sorts of just bad handling of the Star Wars franchise, especially with Armada, X-Wing, and even the Legion has come out ahead overall. But there was that short-lived, very short-lived, I can't remember, maybe you guys could put it down in the comments below, the very short-lived Star Wars duel. It was a card game, but it was also a dice game. And it was good in the beginning, and then they just messed it up. And there's all sorts of issues from like pushing too much product out it was too much product too soon, too fast, and that product was not being shipped out properly. There's all sorts of issues with it. I can't remember the name of the game for the life of me, but I remember telling the store, not my owner, the store owners, please do not invest in this anymore. It is a waste of money. We are losing money. At any rate, that's the bit of the controversy. Really, at the end of the day, it's okay to voice your opinion. We all do. I know I certainly do. I've got a whole channel for that. But if you're going to be targeting a forum or, say, a Facebook post, keep it about what the subject is, because we tend to ignore anything else. So if we're talking about the Legion swoop bike riders in a forum or on a post or whatever, and then you throw in something about Star Wars RPG from Fantasy Flight Games or Star Wars Armada, which has nothing to do with this, you've already lost the argument, and you're going to be ignored. Keep it on topic. And then when a new topic opens up about Armada, or I guess it wouldn't, Atomic Mass Games probably won't be messing with the Star Wars RPG, which I think is dead in the water anyways. But when those open up, then express your grievances, and do so in a way that's not snarky and that is not just laced with inaccuracies. Go in with a logical explanation, but don't expect the company to come back out and go, oh, hey, Todd, You're right. We should definitely listen to your suggestion. Okay, Brenda, you're right. We were definitely wrong, and we definitely should correct this based on what you said. Don't expect them to respond, especially when you tag them in the comments and go, "Hey, Atomic Mass Games, what are you gonna do about this?" Go ahead and tag them, but don't expect a response. Okay? I'm not. I hope I'm not preachy here. If I'm preachy, well, it's preachy. I don't care. Let's just move on. We got a lot of other stuff to talk about that's a lot better. But I wanted to get that off my chest. It's been kind of stewing or simmering over the weekend. Not even really simmering. It was just kind of left out on the kitchen counter, and there's a little bit of mold growing, and I wanted to still talk about it before I threw it out. So we're going to move on. Let's take a look at the panel to play. We're kind of going a little bit back in time because we've had another panel to play drop, the Red Guardian, the Winter Guard, and we've already talked about them, but I wanted to go back to Nick Fury Sr. and Howling Commandos because originally all we had was the screenshots from the mini extravaganza, and since then, Atomic Mass Games, well, last week, about 7 days ago, well, about a week ago, put out the two cards, a lot more crisp view, so we can actually talk about it. And we do have one of their Team Tactic cards. What was shown on the stream was one of these Team Tactic cards, but a whole bunch of other Team Tactic cards that were actually from Nick Fury Jr. in the Shield Agents box that came out months ago. So we're going to take a look at the one card and just hope that the next card is just as good. Because we know that there are two cards coming in this box. CP75, we can actually confirm it on their website. There's two Team Tactic cards. There are not 5. There are not 10. There are 2. So one of them is likely going to involve tokens, and then, actually, it's probably the one we're going to be showing. So let's take a look at Nick Fury Sr. and the Howling Commandos, which includes Nicholas Fury Sr., Timothy Dum Dum Duggan, and Gabriel Jones. We got 3 defenses across the board, and I should point out, if you haven't already figured it out, this is not a grunt base, even though it has multiple models on it, like we've seen with the emergence of the grunts, like the Hydra agents, the hand ninjas, and the shield agents. This is not a grunt base. This is an actual unit or a character model, even though there's 3 characters on it. You understand? I hope so. So we got 3 defenses across the board, which is good because these are average guys and they should have the average defenses. And since there's multiple on there, I can see it being 3s instead of, say, 2s. And of course, they're not superhuman with the exception of Nick Fury Sr. He does have a version of the Infinity Formula. I believe that's what it was. I think it's like version 6 of it, or who knows, maybe 8 or 10, whatever. He's got a 5 health on the healthy side, and then on the injured side, it goes to a 6 health, so a good 11 health overall. Threat 3, which is perfect for this base. Size 2, and it's going to be medium movement. So really cool so far. And we've already talked about this, but when now we got a more crisp view of it, and I want to reiterate how amazing, at least in my opinion, you guys can let me know in the comments below, but I think this is going to be one of the best units, especially after kind of the kind of very generic Winter Guard that we just saw. This is an amazing character card. Probably one that will... I'm a fan of Nick Fury Sr. in the first place. I grew up on that. Unlike a lot of probably... some of the younger crowd grew up on the Sam Jackson version of Nick Fury, which is Nick Fury Jr., which started in the Ultimates comics line. So I'm excited about this just for that purposes. Plus, the card is amazing, or the unit is amazing. So we got 3 different attacks, 1 builder, and then 2 spenders. The first one is their builder. It's a physical attack called Prototype Weapons. And we're going to, I believe, yeah, we're going to see this pop up again later on. So it's range 4, which is good, really good. Most range attacks are about a 3 or a 4. When it comes to weapons, you really see them in the instead of superpowers or energy blasts, they generally are about a 4. We got a 5 dice worth of damage and 0 power cost. And this is their main builder, or actually really their only builder. You get the 1 point of power after you resolve it, whether you do damage or not. And it's got a cool ability called Pursuit. So if you get the wild symbol, before you do damage, you can advance towards the target short range. That is really cool. Especially on 5 dice, there's a very good chance you're going to be able to do the pursuit. And I like the fact that they say may. We've seen recently that you have a couple cards or a couple characters where you have to do the movement. I do like that choice to move or not move. I generally don't like being forced to my character have to do a movement alongside an action. So then we got the energy attack. It's called Grenades. This is their first spender. It is range 3. Makes sense. You can't throw as far as you can shoot, if that makes any sense. It's got 4 damage and it's going to cost 1 power. So really an easy one to pop off. I don't know how often you'll use it, but after the attack is resolved, the target character gains Incinerate. So it's not a devastating attack, but it's cool as you just got your point of power from Prototype Weapons, and there's nothing else you want to really spend that power on. So chuck some grenades, hit somebody with Incinerate, and now they've got that issue going on, provided that they're not immune to Incinerate. Then the last spender and the last of their attack abilities is the Show's Over. This is range 3. It's 6 dice at 3 power, so it's a little costly, but it's okay. Before choosing a target, you get to choose if this is going to be a physical or an energy attack. Despite it being a physical attack, you get to choose if it's energy or physical, which is always good, especially when you've got multiple, depending on what you're facing off against. You always want to have options in the damage dealing, depending on what the defense of your target is. Now, if you get a wild symbol, which was 6 dice, very good chance, you get Poured On. After the attack is resolved, this character may make a Prototype Weapons attack. Right there, that is awesome. Pull this off. You can probably, at the very least, I would say, you can probably start pulling this off probably maybe turn 2, but more likely starting on turn 3. When you start taking damage, you've already started generating power during the power phase. You probably have popped off Prototype at least once, if not twice, because of the range. That's really good to kind of start off with in the early turns, like turn 1 or turn 2. Anyways, and be able to get a 6 dice attack followed up by a 5 dice attack for free. That's really good. And yes, it's 11 dice, but not all together. But remember, I've said before, and I think it's kind of common knowledge and it's also something that we kind of forget about. But every time we make these attacks, whether it's 2 dice, 5 dice, 6 dice, 22 dice from the Helios laser strike from the Hulkbuster, whatever it's called, every time you make that, you roll those dice and you're forcing your opponent to make the defense, it is that increases the odds of them taking damage, right? I know that that makes sense. It sounds like common sense, but a lot of people forget about that, and they might be a little passive and hold back on doing something because I was like, grenades are only a 4 dice attack. Well, you know what? That means they still got to defend against it, and still good chance that you're going to do damage. 1 point of damage is, especially in these when these characters have, average around 5 or 6 health, every point counts. All right, I hope that makes sense. So then we're going to go take a look at their superpower, Sibling in Arms. This is Power 2. It's going to choose an allied character within range 2 of this character, place this character within range 1 of the chosen character. So we've talked about that before. It's a good big movement. When I read it, I was like, this is all right. But when you take into account, and I did a little test run, you can actually get you get a pretty big movement. Even though you're still within range 1 of the character, you're still getting some pretty decent movement out of the character. I hope that makes sense. Or you can take that chosen target character, you can place it within range 1 of this character. So it's a good leapfrogging ability that you could you could be pulling off once per turn to get some great free movement out of these characters, especially after you popped off prototype weapons, move short range, yank somebody. Basically, you're you're slingshotting somebody alongside you, or maybe you're slingshotting yourself. This is another one of those things that really makes the Howling Commandos a good card. You're getting a lot of great economy of action abilities here. Now we got the reactive power called Got Your Back. This is 2 power. When an allied character is dazed or KO'd by an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, this character can use a superpower. This character makes a prototype weapon attack against the enemy character that caused the effect. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. So, like I said, this is a very good support card. It's a very good attacking card. This is probably one of the best well-rounded cards I've seen out there. We're at 100 plus. I think we're around 120 some odd characters. This is probably one of the best characters with the most versatile array of abilities. And then they've got, as an innate ability, Stealth, which the character must be within range 3 of this character to target it with attacks, just like Black Widow and I think Moon Knight. I'm not sure. But still pretty amazing. Now let's take a look at this Team Tactic card. Sorry for the it's still a little blurry, but we're still going to look at it. This is the only one that I know of that they've revealed for Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos. It is Infiltration. It is if Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos. This is a reactive card and it's unaffiliated, but obviously you're going to have to use it with the Howling Commandos. If Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos and this card are part of your squad, do not deploy Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos. It is still part of your squad and gains power as normal. So cool, they're just off the board. And then during an allied character's activation, if they're part of your squad and not on the battlefield, the allied character may play this card. Place a flare token within range 3 of this character, and during the next cleanup phase, place Nick Fury and Howling Commandos within range 1 of this character. That is really awesome. This is basically give a good example for those of you who are familiar with, say, teleportation or deep striking attacks from, like, say, Warhammer 40,000 or Age of Sigmar, where you can pop up on the battlefield, even behind enemy lines. That is what this is like. So this gives them an excellent opportunity to appear right where you need them. It's a great sneaky tactic and totally legit. It's not underhanded. It's using, the tools in your toolbox, but this is a great ability. And I would say almost one of the guaranteed team tactic cards you're going to want if you're fielding Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos. That ability to have them off the table, to appear where you want them, when you want them, well, whenever you're ready to play the card, is really ideal. And it's a new type of, I'm going to say basically it's like a new type of mechanic that we really haven't seen outside of the grunts. And the possibilities that we might see this in the future, I would say, are probably high. We'll probably see it at least once more within the next year, pull up with another character. This gives us some great playability. This card is probably one of the better ones. I could see it popping up on a variety of teams, whether it's a supervillain team or even a superhero team. This is probably one of the best versatile cards out there. I'm gushing over it, not because it's the Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, but because of how good it is, at least on paper. Of course, we got to see it on the tabletop. Well, we already saw it on the stream, but we need to also see it for ourselves. But I have a feeling, especially as the tournament season is, we're right in the middle of the tournament season, I think we're going to see this. Once it drops, we're going to be seeing this card used a lot. I'm going to be checking with the tabletop simulator, see what's going on there, and check out with a couple of the local stores where people are actually kind of play testing. Whenever these rules come out, they like to play test the cards, even though the models aren't out yet, but they'll use the cards and use another model as a count as. So really cool. Let me know what you guys think. I know it's a bit of a longer video, but there was a lot to talk about, and I still have more to talk about. I'm going to try to get another video out a little later, but I've got a pre-workout in me right now, and I'm starting to burn up, so it is getting time to go to the gym and get to a Nick Fury and Howling Commandoes level of fitness. Maybe not to where I have prototype weapons and stuff, but I look as buff as they do. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. See ya.